Hello and welcome to Brown Media, and of course it's today in the news. My name is Precious and of course I'll be taking some of the front pages of the newspaper, as well as we have a guest in the studio and we're going to be discussing some of the stories that are really burning on the front pages of the newspaper. I'll be starting with Vanguard. And the major headlines, we have a big trouble as more Nigerians sink deeper into poverty. The riders, we have population of poor expected to hit 89.5 million. Poverty worsening as population growth outpaces GDP. What government can do by experts. And we have Lagos records 38 new cases as confirmed cases rises to 12,486. And on the stories above, we have Buhari's 1 year in office. Border closure has reduced crime rate, that's said by Lai Mohammed. You can see more on that story on page 8 of Vanguard newspaper. And also we have COVID-19. Editors urge federal government to inject money into media industry. And PPPRA backtracks, says marketers can't fix fuel prices. You can see more on that story on page 8. And on the stories beneath, we have COVID-19 patient arrested in Akure market, and outrage greeter Mieti Allah's Nigeria belongs to Fulani comment. And also we have on page 14, IPOB waging war against Nigeria, says Presidency. And also we have an infographics of Nigeria's below poverty line since 2016 to 2020 in millions. That's showing that the poverty head count is showing 40.1 million, 40.1% rather of Nigerians' population. And on page 11 we have Edo, more mudslinging as APC chieftain blasts Oshomole. And away from the Vanguard newspaper, we move straight to the Punch newspaper. And on the Punch newspaper, we have the major headlines. Crisis looms as COVID-19 cases outnumbers bed spaces in states. Riders, we have Nigerians with 6,994 bed spaces as of Friday, battling with 8,065 active cases. And also we have patients with diabetes, hypertension, others ruled out of home care. Also, we have some who present staff of office to Lawa as a 15th Oniru. And on the stories at the bottom page, we have a book, Bakari, I can't open church and endanger people's lives. And on page 4 and 5, we have fraudster flees Nigerians on Facebook with Pomo's scheme. And also stories above, we have NNPC, others plan 21 billion naira hospitals in 12 states, Marmora. And away from Vanguard, we move straight to This Day newspaper. And on This Day newspaper, we have major headlines. With 38 new COVID-19 cases, Lagos records first slump in 3 months. And the riders, we have 260 fresh incidents, raise a total to 12,486 with 3,959 discharged and 354 dead. Nigerian imports COVID-19 drugs from Bangladesh. And stories above, we have CBN limit healthcare research grant to 500 million naira. And away from This Day, we move straight to The Nation. And on The Nation, we have Obaseki Oshomole puts presidency in dilemma. The riders, we have Buhari may push for NEC meeting over mode of primary. Direct primary will guarantee social distancing. And we also have the COVID-19 updates showing on The Nation newspaper. And we have churches reopening Abuja, Osun, Kwara as partial rules compliance. And also bureaucracy delaying Ajimobi's trial, says Makinde. And stories beneath, we have Lawan, we passed Buhari's $5.5 billion loan request to save 20 million jobs. The lawmakers won't compromise on mandates. And away from the Nation newspaper, we move straight to Daily Trust. And on Daily Trust, we have major headlines. Job cuts displaced workers as COVID-19 hits employers. And we have below, we have exclusive interview with that's the Senate President. And he says, call us anything, we won't change our style. And the riders, we have why Buhari's loan request cannot be rejected, and how we will pass PIB, and challenges in APC with Festa, but party won't die. And stories above, we have COVID-19 funds. CBN disburses 107.45 billion naira to beneficiaries. Also, Edo governorship plots to disqualify, and also Obaseki takings. And we have 11 Aramajiri test positive for COVID-19 in Sokoto. And the stories beneath, we have a stop influx of armed headsmen from other countries. And also we have a federal government initiative on ICT have reduced the impact of COVID-19. And that's all we have on the front pages of the newspaper. We're going to move into the newspaper analysis segment very soon. But remember equally to like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on the screen, as we would have a guest to also analyze some of these top stories with us when we come back from this break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. And if you're just joining us, it's still today in the news, and I'm Precious Chukudi. I have a guest in the studio, and it's in the person of Mr. Aliu Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications. You're welcome, sir. It's good to have you in the studio.
How are you?
Fine, sir. All right, so let's move straight to the major headlines of today's story. And big trouble as more Nigerians sink deeper into poverty. And population of poor expected to hit 89.5 million. What's your take on this one, sir?
Well, what you just read is disturbing, and surprisingly, it is beginning to manifest. If you see the number of people begging for money on the roads now, you will be shocked. I expected that as a government, Nigeria should have taken some steps, not only to provide palliatives during the total lockdown, but also take steps to cushion the effects of the post-lockdown on the people. We are seeing the effects of the post-lockdown already. You go anywhere, you go to anywhere to either do business, you see people begging for money. It's a reflection of what is happening. A lot of people cannot run their businesses again because the year was just starting, and most businesses have not really done anything before the lockdown came in. Some people have debts that they can't collect. Most companies are asking for some period of grace. Some want 3 months, some want 6 months, so that they would have come out of the post-lockdown effects. I think the government should do something about this, because we are talking about crime rate here. It will rise up. It will rise up significantly. Already some people in the remote areas are feeling threatened by daily robberies and attacks on their homes. They can't sleep with their two eyes closed. So we expect that as soon as possible, the government should take steps to, I don't know whether they want to empower the people, because they said some banks, the central bank had given out instructions that they should make provision for personal loans and business loans. I don't know whether they've started doing that, but I expect the central bank to move further by not merely giving such instructions, but to ensure that those instructions are enforced, so that the effects of the lockdown on people could be cushioned as soon as possible. It is obvious. If you have a little money now, a lot of people will send text messages to you to ask for assistance. And in most cases, what they ask for are things they want to use to feed. You get emotional if somebody tells you, I have not been able to eat since morning. So you want to share what you have. That is if you have at all. But in this case, a lot of people don't even have money to share. So it's not a good thing, and we must take steps to check this increase in the poverty level in the country.
Okay, now, still speaking about the increase in poverty level, COVID-19 we already were struggling with, increase in poverty, then COVID came, and now worsened the situation. Now we have high rates of loss of jobs, like in almost every sector. Now, how exactly can people start to, build themselves up? Because it's looking like this is going to be the order of the day for a long time coming. Yes. So.
The COVID-19 crisis has come, and like people are saying, it's likely to be with us for a long time. Some are predicting 1 year, others are saying like 2 years. What I expect people to do at this level is to sit down and reorder their priorities. Cut down on things you don't need to start with. Otherwise, you just discover that even if you collect 100% salary, you can't just meet your needs. Most companies I know a company that has sent 80% of its workforce home, compulsory leave without pay. And before they left, they were made to hand over the company properties in their care. That means they are not likely to come back. Even banks, a lot of bank workers are still working from home. So that means this crisis has come and is going to be with us for some time. At individual levels, we have to reorder our priorities. If your income has gone down, then you have to check your excesses. Maybe you are the type that love going to nightclubs, bars and all that. You have to check that. The priority should be survival. That should be everybody's priority now. Provide food for your family and try to live a modest life. Because I don't see, except those who are stealing, those who have access to public funds, I don't know of anybody that is in the lower level now that can boast of ₦1 million in his account today. There are some very hardworking people who also have made money from this crisis. But again, if you know you are not among them, I advise that you reorder your priorities so that whatever you earn will at least take you for some time before you go broke.
All right, so let's look at what some experts have said, and some of them are saying that exactly what you also mentioned, the fact that there will be increased rates of crime.
Yes.
And we even saw some of this happen during the period of lockdown. The 1 million boys from nowhere, people could not sleep anymore. They had to be vigilantes here and there. At night you can't sleep, during the day you can't sleep because there are small pockets of violence being mentioned in areas. What exactly do you think that the government can actually do to help us? Because now we've looked at how we as individuals can help ourselves. what exactly can the government do to help us? Because it's like this is going to, be a recurrent issue.
Yeah, you talked about the menace of some so-called 1 million boys. You will discover that these boys usually move in large numbers, 40, 50, sometimes 100, and it becomes difficult for anybody that is not armed. They are usually armed anyway. It becomes difficult for anybody that is not armed to control them. So we need to go back to the issue of community policing. If I learned that these boys are more in a particular area in Lagos, Mushin area, so get to the root of to the areas where they gather, get information, and try to get them under control. I mean, before at least 40 or 50 people come out to say they want to commit crime, they must have met somewhere. So there must be a kind of information gathering through community policing, and then you can check their menace. Because as it is today, even the policemen that we have, they are usually scared to confront these 1 million boys. And that was what led to the vigilante groups that were formed during the lockdown. Because the vigilante members went straight to where those boys come out from, apprehended some of them. I saw some videos online. Some of them were apprehended, stripped naked, and beaten. So they ran away from the areas where we had such developments. But what the police do is to wait for them to come out and then now try to control. In the process of trying to control them, some of the boys get shot, and it becomes a problem for the policemen. The mothers, the family members will now come out to say, they killed their sons. What were your sons doing with arms? So we have to go back to the roots.
And then it's looking like we're going to be experiencing some of all these things, like you can't stand at bus stops again because
you can't stand at bus stops and be safe. I saved somebody around the Kega under bridge. I was in traffic. A lady carried her bag and somebody was trying to cut it. So I had to scream from my car. ATM points, you see miscreants hanging around there, and nobody is able to check them. They are everywhere, at bus stops, ATM points, traffic light points. You see them there. They will just hang around there. Once the light is on red, they swoop on your car. It has happened to me, baby. So I had to zoom off, almost hitting one of them. So they are becoming more desperate and carefree in carrying out some of these operations. They don't mind to be killed. All they want is money. So let us all be careful, and the police, again, should come out more and let people feel their presence. Let people feel their presence. Once they see policemen around, they run away. They also don't want to die anyway. So, and once we are able to check them from carrying out their dastardly acts, then the people also will have a sense of belonging that the police are at least working. But not that the police will be in about 50 meters and a crime is being committed and nothing will be done within that area. It's not a very good story for the police.
All right, so let's move on to another headline, and this is COVID-19. Editors urges the federal government to inject money into media industry. We're seeing different sectors calling for the support of the government. What exactly is your take on this one?
The media industry is my constituency, and in the last few weeks we have some shocking deaths within the media. Don't forget that the media is not insulated from what is happening in Nigeria. we initially had a problem of getting newsprints and other materials. That's for the newspaper industry. And then we have for the electronic industry, they also have their peculiar problems in terms of getting adverts and all that to keep the stations running. Well, government intervention, yes, but in the past we've had situations where the government declared the importation of newsprints duty-free. It went a long way to help the media. But when you call for intervention, what kind of intervention are we talking about? In terms of funds, or what, or patronage? It has to be clearly defined. The media, most of the media in Nigeria, those involved in running the media in Nigeria are private people. If I have a newspaper, I can't call on the government to come and give me money, except by way of patronage. So if you are calling for intervention, let us clearly define it. The media is distressed. There is no doubt about that. There is distress in the media. People are being retrenched every day. I don't want to start mentioning the newspaper. So many media organizations are there. They can't pay salaries. Their workers are suffering. People can't even move around. And you see, there are so many hazards connected to journalism in Nigeria. And so an average journalist must be well protected. You have to be contented to be able to do your job. You must have good money. When I say good money, at least to keep you moving, to buy petrol for your car, you should be able to pay your rent. Otherwise, your mind will be divided. If there is no contentment, then the ability to give your best to your job will not be there. So I want to urge media owners to come together and deliberate on the kind of intervention they want from the government, because most of the media organizations are owned by private people. So we must define the kind of intervention we want.
All right, so let's move on to this one, and that's the Lai Mohammed saying that the border closure has reduced crime rate in Buhari's 1 year in office, and we know how when the borders was closed, how people were talking about the fact that we can't get some of our supplies because we're always used to getting some of all these things from the abroad. So what's your take on that one?
Well, I don't know. Maybe he was not specific about which part of the country, because almost in all parts of Nigeria we have security issues, and this has to do with the influx of foreigners into the country. For as long as we have government officials, immigration officials taking bribe to allow people to come in, then our borders are still not safe. They are merely closed. People still come in. I still see imported rice despite the closure of the border. So how do these people get the rice into the country? I still hear about crimes being committed along Lagos-Badagry Expressway, transborder robbery and all that. So how did those people get into Nigeria? So we must sit down and reevaluate what we have achieved through the border closure. You can't sit in Abuja and be telling Nigerians that border closure has reduced crime in Nigeria. We just talked about criminals robbing people, 1 million boys in the north. The governor of one of the states was still talking about disallowing Almajiris from coming from their country into the northern states. How do the Almajiris come in? They didn't fly. They passed through the borders. The borders are still very porous. They don't go through the normal borders, but there are private routes that they pass through. And those routes are being watched by immigration officers who collect as low as 2,000, 1,000 from them, not minding the dangers that they are going to pose to Nigeria, and allow them to come in. So government must look into that. I don't know how they want to do it. The immigration officers at the borders are compromising the security of Nigeria in a very great way to their own advantage. And so they must check that before anybody can sit down and say that it has reduced crime in Nigeria. What has reduced in the north, we still have Boko Haram fighting. Soldiers are still battling with them. Some of them coming in from Niger and other foreign countries near the northeast. So what are we talking about? By now the soldiers should be resting, but we still have full-scale war going on there. So how can the Minister of Information come and tell us that it has reduced trans-border crime? I don't understand what he's saying.
All right, so let's move to this one. PPRA backtrack says marketers can't fix fuel prices. What's your take on this one, sir?
I don't know if the first story truly emanated from them. If it did, then it was a mistake, because there is no how marketers will be allowed to fix the price of petroleum products. We know the way Nigerians behave. If you allow them to fix the price of anything without control, and petroleum products are so important to us, to the survival of Nigeria. Don't let me say to us, they are very important to the survival of Nigeria. So much that if the prices are left in the hands of dealers, then the poverty level that we are talking about will be worse.
Okay, we've seen how during the period of lockdown, the government has sort of reduced the...
That is in response to the declining cost of crude oil all over the world. It is the normal thing to do. I even think the prices of petroleum products should be cheaper than they are now, because the crude oil that is used for its production, the prices have gone down. It went down to up to about $10 or $13 during the lockdowns all over the world. So why do we still buy fuel for as high as 120, 125? We should be looking at between 1995 or even 85. But you know, we are in a peculiar country. Everybody wants to make profit. Look at the cost of food items now. It has gone up so drastically, and nobody is talking about it. Nobody is talking about it.
Exactly, and the cost of living has really...
It has gone up. But nobody is talking about that. How these prices suddenly skyrocketed, nobody is bothered to even look at that. Has the production of food gone down? Has the production of yam gone down? We have locally produced rice, but a bag of 25 kg bag of locally produced rice is 12,000. I bought one made in Nigeria rice, 12,000. The 10 kg is about 6,000.
And some people were basically even complaining about the quality of these
stones all over. So you have to pick very well before you cook, or you cook, then you cook halfway, remove the water, and you see the brown or black water all over the place. So we really have to be careful here. Somebody should take interest in what we consume. Otherwise, we have more deaths from that than the COVID-19.
All right, so let's talk about this one from the presidency, saying that IPOB waging war against Nigeria. And we've seen this IPOB back and forth here and there, them saying this one and that. What's your take on this one, sir?
Well, unfortunately, this is not a fresh war, in quotes, like the government said. We've also known that Kano started this crisis in Nigeria. It was chased out. What I expect the government to do now is to use its diplomatic ties with the countries that are being used as platforms to wage war against Nigeria, to bring this under control. You don't just shout as if you don't have relationships with this country. You have relationships with this country, Egypt, Israel. In some cases, we have entered into bilateral relationship with them. So why can't we leverage on that to check the excesses of these guys? You know, there should be clear ways and procedures for people to say that we don't want to be Nigerians again. There are clear ways to that, except that the federal government is committed to the fact that Nigeria remains a united country. I don't support people achieving anything through violence. People here, it is only in Nigeria that we use violence to achieve everything. People use violence to make money, to love girls, rape. You know, we tolerate a lot of nonsense here. Government should leverage on the relationship they have with this country to check the excesses of those who are waging war against our country. If it means sanctioning them, you go ahead and do that. If diplomatic talks fails, of this talk that some people are waging war against Nigeria, they should act and not talk. If you are my friend and you are doing something bad, before I shout, I must talk to you. Have they talked with this government? Have they held a talk with this government? Are they in discussion with them? If I am the president of Nigeria, that's what I will do. Initiate a bilateral talk with the countries, and then you see the way forward.
All right, we've been talking with Mr. Aliyu Mohammed, CEO of Magnet Communications, and it has really been very insightful. You've broken down almost every of the front pages stories that we have on the papers. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. Okay, remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe, and also let us know what you think about some of the stories we've spoken about. Nigeria is moving into, a very, bad poverty index right now, and a lot of people are talking about it. People can't afford to feed 3 square meals anymore. Even 3 square is even a luxury, and even want to find to eat 1 meal a day is like glory be to God. So let us know what you think on things like that on the comment section, and remember that you can like, share on all our subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on the screen, as well as check some of our stories on our website, and that's www.vanguardngr.com. Till I come your way next time on Today in the News, remember to stay safe, stay clean, stay hydrated. Coronavirus is still in town. Don't take it for granted. Ensure that you are keeping safe till another time. Thank you for watching.